Ex-millionaires of Reddit, what made you lose all your money? My dad. Not me. He made some really shrewd stock market investments after he retired. They were options on an oil refiner at a time when the USA had a real shortage of them. My dad had done a lot of research on this and studied the situation carefully. He got rich to the tune of maybe $2 million. He could have been set for life. My dad was already a really smart guy. He has a PhD in mathematics and was a highly respected big brain professional all the way back into the 1960s. However, he thought this took him to the next level. He bought a lot of newer options in the same company. I suggested to him that he diversify. Put a bunch of money into something closer to an annuity or another conservative investment that would give him plenty of income forever. I told him if he did that, he would always be rich. Well, he is pretty far from that now. I haven't said a thing about that to him since he lost everything. I did what I could at the time to save him from himself. But who was I? It pains me to see how it played out for him. He did a lot of things right in life. He deserved better, but there's no deserve in securities investing. Morals of this story. 1. You aren't an investment genius after your first blockbuster win. You need a track record. 2. Diversify. My dad is an ex-millionaire. He's a ducking wizard at starting successful businesses. His problem is he can't let them go. He's the boss/owner who never hires a manager that's not family because he just doesn't trust anyone else to run it. He drove $3 million companies into the ground because he couldn't keep up with his own success and refused to hire people to do it for him. If I can ask, what kind of businesses did your dad start? How did he get into starting his first business? I know these are personal questions, but I like learning from successful people. Not sure how he got into starting them, but he started with a pizza place. Got to like 3 locations before it swamped on him and he had to sell to cover his debts, etc. From there he owned some rental properties. They took off, but as he expanded he wasn't able to keep up with maintenance as he was trying to do most of it himself. The buildings fell into disrepair and eventually he had to sell because he couldn't afford the repairs that were necessary. From there he started arguably his most successful business, a driving school. He got to 5 locations. To this day basically anyone in the state over 40 was taught to drive by him or at one of his schools. He hired my mom to help him run things because his books were a mess. They had an affair. This is where I come in. Close bracket. And when my parents broke up my mom left the business and my dad never hired anyone to fill her spot. Fast forward 5 years and he had to sell yet again just to cover his losses. He ended up getting hired at a local company as a manager and worked there until he retired. I watched a guy at a casino somehow get a loan against his house, about $200k, and lose it. He looked suicidal. Apparently he was already in almost $50k and thought he could win it back. I got hired there, and I would leave on Friday and return Monday, and see the same people in the same clothes, who pissed and shit themselves, and were still sitting at the blackjack table gambling. People like this are the reason hotel rooms in Vegas are so cheap. Gambling and spouse terminal illness. I'm sorry. Go to r/Wall Street Butts and filter by the loss flare. Not me but an acquaintance. He got caught not paying taxes and dealing in stolen goods. He spent time in federal prison and lost everything, including his wife. Crime does not always pay. You know how to end up with $1 million after a year of day trading? Start with $2 million. Do you lose that much on day trading? Exclamation mark. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Fuck yo couch. Hypothetical millionaire. I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin when they were about $1 each. I sold them when they were about $2.50 each and was so happy I made money from internet coins. As of the moment I'm typing this, those coins would be worth $1.855,000. Yeah, right, and sadly and frustratingly one up this. I have a cool hard 150 BTC to $7 million in a wallet I can't access. I have been trying passwords for years and coming up dry, and the worst part is that the wallet is connected to an old work email account that I can't access. The upswing is the company I worked for, and email that I used is nearing insolvency for non-covered issues, and in fact, should be turning massive profits, but alas lousy management was the reason I left as is why they are failing. So, soon I will be able to purchase the domain name cheap and set up and email address for password recovery. I'm so excited about this and looking forward to 2021 and diversifying my portfolio if it's still there. Edit. I'm off to bed. I hope you all have a wonderful day and thank you for your support. It seems like I've heard more stories of people who lost millions of dollars in Bitcoin by throwing away a hard drive than people who made it big by mining then when it was easiest. Somewhere here there's a billionaire laughing because they're an ex-millionaire too. We were close. Then the Great Recession hit. Lost 60% in 3 years. Just updated the balance sheet today. We're almost back. Who knows what will happen in the next 24 to 36 months though. My grandfather was a thrifty man. Always was a DIY guy. Hated hiring contract workers, except for my father, whom he introduced to my mother, and worked for nearly 40 years at our local GM plant. His savings, myriad cash deposits, and investments over the years netted him a net worth of about 2 or 3 million. After walking off the job at GM after a scuffle with the plant management, he went into business for himself and became a landscaper and evergreen farmer at 64 years old, earning government contracts with county and local agencies, which netted him another sizable chunk of money. His sister's husband did the same thing essentially, and this is where my aunt comes in. We will call her Karen. Karen worms her way into my great aunt's life, and as my great aunt approached her 80s started becoming more frail, and Karen took care of her, which means she had my great aunt sign over power of attorney and immediately signs everything over to herself. Brand new house, all 3 cars, RV, everything. Consigns my great aunt to a convalescent home where she died. The will, having been officially amended to award everything not already taken by Karen to Karen. My other great aunt died suddenly and left my mother as her executor of her modest will, which was basically the stuff in her house, as she was in the process of selling the house. I was very young, but I remember mom loading me and my 2 brothers into the car and flying down the highway to beat Karen to the house before anything turned up missing. We were successful and mom got to inventory and disperse everything properly. We ended up with, of all things, her turn of the century pasta crank and her big box of recipes. Grandpa by this point had developed cancer and slowed down his business. Now 75 years old, he had a nice, modest house on a nice chunk of extremely valuable land thanks to the explosive development there. Mom takes time off work to help grandma care for him until he too passes away, leaving everything to grandma. At this point, we move into grandma's house to help her around the house and to help her close and liquidate the business assets. After about a year, Karen worms her way in like a tick and things start disappearing, like farm equipment and other things. Her daughter's husband also had gone into the storage barn and trashed out a lot of family heirlooms, which also was where we kept a lot of our furniture from our home, which all ended up in a fire pit behind the barn. It wasn't long after this that Karen convinced grandma to let her handle her finances and Karen evicts us. Within 2 years, they sold the family home and land, liquidated all of grandpa's stocks and bonds, and fled to Florida. Karen had once again gained power of attorney and legally stole all of grandma's remaining assets. Grandma died ignominiously when she was given an insulin shot 20 times her supposed dose, and she went into DKA and died slowly and horribly in brain death. Out of an estimated $4 million inheritance, mom and her 2 sisters were given an equal inheritance of $12,000. Karen kept the house, the cars, and ended up burning through everything. Obviously this ended up shattering the family, and now none of us speak to the other. Edit. 9 years and just got my first award. Thank you. You're too kind. Crypto millionaire. Still worth a lot. With my accounts about $850. 000 today. I have a lot of XRP, but in 2017 I was worth about 5 million before the crash. Lowest was $300. 000. I'm a hodler, so I don't day trade usually. Divorce. I was a millionaire. Got divorced, which nearly sent me to insolvency. Buckled down and worked my butt off and am re-millionaired. Guys, don't estimate the pernicious impact on net worth a bad divorce can have. PFT. You don't need to worry. No one on here is getting laid or married. I was a multi-millionaire for 2 weeks. Then the vacation was over and we exchanged our dongs for euros. I miss being holiday millionaire. I got pretty close by selling my company to a bigger competitor. Reinvested most of it since I had not much use for the money, but then got scammed for about $500,000 on buying some real estate. They smelled a newly rich kid from miles away. I still like to think I was worth $1 million at some brief point in time. An energy drink for Asian homosexuals. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed watching this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below.